Greetings survivors and friends, SHADOWFRAX here with your latest mouthful of organic Rust content, where this week we have premium servers, workbench changes, anti-cheater efforts, and your meat on display for all to see. But first, if you haven't watched my vid from last week, I'd recommend doing so, as I covered in as much detail as possible the Cooking 2.0 patch, which will be coming next week, and I hate having to repeat myself. But this week there's even more stuff to show and some important changes, so open wide. Here comes the aero pie. Over on staging main now, bee grenades, which stack to 5 have a new model, which leaves no doubt as to the contents, and the admire animation now gives it a little shake to make sure they're ready. There are new bee swarm visuals as well, which you can observe around both natural and crafted hives. And swarm behavior has now become more complex. Further to last week, bees will now die in smoke grenade smoke, making it an effective defense, and you can set them on fire with a flamethrower, etc., which will also do the job. In addition, rat water will now destroy the nucleus inside a beehive, and beehives can be heated with heaters. Please note, the temperature percentage inside a hive just seems to be a measure of how happy it is and not how cold or hot it is. Perhaps the team could add some kind of thermostat control item in the future. Just a suggestion. The price of honey at the Bandit Scrap Exchange will be 2 instead of 1 when it's at 100% price, and bee swarms can now attack sleeping players. A lot of visual and audio effects are being added to cooking. All meats have a model now, including horse meat, finally, which I enjoy feeding to my horses. Hey, if we can be cannibals, why can't they? That's it. Eat it all up. But now also meat will show up when cooking on all platforms, including campfires, hobo barrels, barbecues and fireplaces, even cauldrons, which looks absolutely delicious in a suspicious Mountain Dew curry kind of way. You'll also get cues on how cooking is progressing, with the meat slowly browning and an audible sizzling which stops when it's fully cooked. The new cooking bench will have its own effects too, including bread slowly rising and browning in the oven, and pies doing a similar thing, with a faint bell sound when ready. And incidentally, the calories in pies have been increased from 30 to 150. There's still a week to go though, so all the facts and figures are still subject to change until then, but things are starting to shape up nicely. Now, premium servers. In an effort to combat the tiny amount of cheaters that Rust seems to have, a new premium server tag experiment is coming in, and if you haven't heard about this yet, here's how it works. Servers with the premium tag will only allow players to join whose Rust Steam inventory comes to more than $15, not including Rust itself. Basically, that includes any Rust stuff in your inventory with a value such as skins, building skin packs, Hazzy sets, etc, etc. It doesn't currently include the DLC packs like instruments, sunburn and voice props, but they are looking into this being included as well, and hopefully it will be in time for the patch. The reasoning behind this is that currently the vast majority of cheaters have Rust Steam inventories below $15, whereas the inverse is true of long-term regular players, and this isn't something that can be spoofed easily. So the idea is that this will be enough of a deterrent to keep most dodgy players out of those servers. That's the idea. I do wonder how effective this will be, and whether the threshold will have to increase in time. After all, cheaters are willing to pay to win rather than put any effort into actually being good. You only have to look at how much people spend on their insecurities in real life to get the idea. But what do you think? I saw one comment suggesting just adding a cheater tag and applying it to any non-premium servers instead. One thing I will say is that I wouldn't be surprised to see a big increase in Rust-related scams once this comes in, so, you know, don't be stupid. The premium tag is open to all server owners, vanilla and modded, and can be enabled with the Convar server.premium. I did check, and there are currently no plans to allow server owners to set their own inventory value threshold, and it will be stuck at $15 for the foreseeable. Chicken coops. There are some updated visuals for the chicken stats. Eggs now take 2 minutes each to hatch, and you can't pet chickens whilst they're asleep, because even chickens need to sleep sometimes. There was also this commit, which I laughed at but forgot to show last week. Hopefully this never happens in real life, as I'd start feeling bad about eating them. Now to workbenches, and currently on the Auxo 2 branch, the new tech trees are being finalised, and one thing that needs to be said is that all the workbenches will need to be unlocked soon via the tech tree. For instance, in a tier 1, you'll be able to unlock the engineering workbench, as well as the cooking workbench and mixing table, but you're now also going to have to unlock the tier 2 workbench here, and then in the tier 2, you're going to have to unlock the tier 3. However, just today, the scrap crafting cost is being removed from workbenches 2 and 3, with an increased high qual cost instead. Needless to say, There are mixed opinions about these changes, which I won't go into, but I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. And just so you know, I did check, and there are no plans to wipe BPs with this update, as I've seen a couple of people asking about that too. Oh, but you can get 2 small boxes under the engineering bench. Just. What a time to be alive. Further to showing the new armor insert system last week, this is still yet to get another gameplay pass today, but you can no longer get armor slots on burlap shirts. It seems like it'll mostly just be actual items of upper body armor or full suits like the Hazzies and bone armor, but this and the final values for the inserts should all be sorted next week. In works in progress, there's more work on Jungle Ruins, the Boomerang, Blowpipe, Crocodile and Tiger, including this commit, which I'm hoping some of my Polish viewers can help me with. What exactly is Polish eating behaviour, please? And do we need to be worried? Also, tigers will be able to drag corpses if disturbed whilst having a snack. Nice. The last thing I wanted to mention, apart from asking you to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this vid, is some more efforts to thwart cheaters, which you may remember having been mentioned a while back. This is basically where a player's location isn't networked if they're hidden by terrain. Therefore, that info isn't readily available to cheaters. The feature's been in testing for a little while and is going well, it seems, and performance is still good. So, in the next phase, hopefully in time for the next patch or soon after, to quote Facepunch, rocks and cliffs will be included as part of the occlusion grid bake, which will improve the overall effectiveness of the system and help mitigate those cheaters getting that edge. There will be optimizations to the line algorithm that's used to calculate the visibility between 2 players, which should boast notable performance improvements, especially on servers with larger player counts. And for server owners, the occlusion grid generated on server startup will now be saved to a file. This results in faster subsequent startup, as loading the grid from a file takes a fraction of a second compared to the minutes it can take to generate the grid. Also, any server owner can enable this feature now with server occlusion in the startup. Could this really make an impact? Let me know if you see any improvements, won't you? Anyway, that's the bulk of the changes this week, and you are now up to date. I should have a full write-up of the final details for the patch next week, so stay tuned. Leave a like and a sub if you'd be so kind. Comment below and join me on all my socials, including my Steam group, and you can support me here via Super Thanks, Patreon and YouTube memberships. I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio. What exactly is Polish eating behaviour, please? And do we need to be worried?